About to turn it on. Turn it. We about to turn it on. Turn it. We about to turn it on. 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 We about to turn it on. Go, 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 go. We about to turn it on.
Girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I like the girls with their nails done. Girls with their girls with their nails done now.
to default. Hey. Okay, I think we fixed it, chat. How's it going? It's Monday. We're talking about this weekend's Warhammer. Sorry about that. We're I don't know what the issue is. We ran into this issue yesterday, actually. For those who come over on Twitch, we streamed randomly in my. I don't know if it's a software problem on my laptop. I'm on my laptop. We're on the mobile hub right now, but sometimes my streaming software just decides that it doesn't want to do audio anymore. It doesn't want to accept my microphone. It's like, no, I refuse. And I don't know why it does that. It's like seems totally random. And it doesn't accept any microphones. I don't know what's going on. I think I need a new headset microphone. I'm sure I don't sound very good right now because we are on my kind of just a mid-budget wired headset. But I think it's time to upgrade at some point, especially when we're doing this more often. I don't have my cool fancy microphone on my mixer and stuff like I do normally in the studio. But what's up, everybody? We are Troubleshooting Tuesday. Yeah, it's Mechanical Issues Monday. We're going to be talking about some team events today, folks. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. I hope everyone enjoyed the coverage of the Onslaught 40k Tampa Open over the weekend. Pretty wild event, to be honest. Team events are always fun. I hope everybody enjoyed the additional camera sort of additions, also the kind of like on the ground reporting I was able to do and go do. That's super fun. I like doing that. Unfortunately, team events require a lot more technical. They have like more technical problems, I think, for the most part. So I tend to be running around and moving cameras and fixing stuff more than commentating a single game like you do in the normal singles events. But it's I don't know. It's put kind of a bee in my butt to expand the streaming. I was kind of envisioning while I was driving away from the venue. I was like, what if we could set up? Now that I have a second computer, I have a very expensive and kind of temperamental laptop right now, which apparently doesn't like audio sometimes. What if we set up a second stream to stream a second table? I was mulling over what that would require. I think the big issue is that I need to retool how I do scoring at the table, because that's I actually do most of the work on that. I would need a system by which the players can score themselves and like input secondaries and things. I have no idea how to do that. It's entirely out of the scope of my capabilities, but I'm sure I'll figure out something. Anyway. That's what Master Grabs at Hotel Artwork. You know, yeah. I was showing you with a friend that it's like amoeboid. it's pretty weird, abstract stuff. Yeah, we're in our tiny hotel here in Ocala, Florida. Big shout out to Verizon for giving me internet out here, giving me a 5G uplink in the boonies, basically, which is very nice. Otherwise, the hotel Wi-Fi is terrible. But what I wanted to do today, folks, I don't have a super long time to live stream because I do have to get out of the room in an hour or so. So what I would like to do is just go over some results, some team event results. So obviously, if you watched this morning, we did do an installment of Best Numbers in 40k. So if you want to talk about singles events, that is the show for you. I went through Undefeated List for each faction as I do normally. It's a little bit of a lower budget production than I've done for that show in the past. I tend to, I don't know, maybe I get in my own head about it, but I like to do a lot of editing and try to make things look flashy. And that ends up taking a ton of time. This still took a lot of time, to be fair. It was less though, so that was good. So that's where I covered your singles events went, but we do have some events that we can rock into that are team events, and obviously the big one being the Onslaught Tampa Open. And one thing that I want to discuss is I guess sort of the trends that we saw over the course of the weekend, because we saw a lot of these teams bringing a lot of very similar pieces of technology to the field. Now, obviously, there's some outliers over here in Mayhew's team. This is Mayhew. If I can remember correctly, the full team name. For those who don't know, it was the longest team name ever. It was like 12 words. It was Mayhew's. Mayhew's annual These Nuts Awareness Fun Run Pro Am Race for the Cure, I think was the name of the team. We're calling them Mayhew's today, folks. There were a couple Black Templars chat. Not in singles events. A couple of people brought them for team events, but I don't know if we have any that saw success. But some of these inclusions, things like Tau, things like Aeldari, things like, I think Aeldari is one of the most interesting ones to me. Things like Genestealer Cults were very commonly played across most of the lists most of the teams that we took a peek at. So what I want to do is run through this event and kind of break down a little bit of the thinking behind some of these teams and what they're doing. Jean-Marie, I hope that was correct. The team kept badgering me to say the whole name on stream, and I was like, yeah, you get one. You get one each round you're on. I'll say it at the beginning, and then from there you're either a horrible acronym or you're Mayhew's team. The 30 World Leaders Terminators list was at this event, yeah. That was Steve Trimble, I think, played that list. We actually streamed it on Saturday. If you want to go watch that game, pretty fascinating game actually. Because we watched it play against a Chaos Space Marine list on our second table, and the Chaos Space Marine list was not running Renegade Raiders, and I literally I think it just ended up without the hitting power to punch through 30 Terminators, which is wild. When you look at a Chaos Space Marine list, you're like, look at it. It's 1 million Accursed Cultists. There's 1 million Predator Destructors. There's Forge Fiends. Like, how could this not kill Terminators? But then you realize that the Terminators can be -1 damage in melee. The Accursed Cultists are only AP 1, so you're saving on 3s. It takes 3 conversions from a Torment, which is only 2/3 of your unit, to kill a single Terminator. And the Terminators in the kickback will kill basically every single Accursed Cultist. If you don't basically one-shot them. And they're so fast that they can, if they get the correct terrain selection, they can duck between terrain features. So it's difficult for the Forge Fiends and the Predators to get the shots at them. And what we end up seeing is that the Predators had to push so far forward to shoot at the Terminators that they did kill a couple Terminators, souped up the Terminator units, and then we're in charge range. And it was all over from there. Absolutely wild list, that one. We also watched it play into Imperial Agents. That was actually a very good matchup for it. We watched it play against Charlie Blowers over here, running Imperial Agents. Although Charlie did do extremely well over the weekend. I don't know what his personal record was. I believe it was 4-1. I think that was his only loss with Agents of the Imperium there. Which actually seems like a pretty cool team event inclusion. 45 Dark Angels Terminator list is doing well at your local shop called TJ's. Where is TJ's located? I have a local shop called TJ's. Is it the same TJ's? Are we TJ's buddies? He went 21 to 1,000 cents. He did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, so if we want to, we can let's dive into these lists. Let's talk about this Agents of the Imperium list, chat, because I think people are pretty pumped about it. I'm going to zoom in here. Maybe not that much. That's a lot of zooming. And we're going to fix our view screen. Something like that, so we can see it a little bit better because it is a little small on the screen. I apologize for that. He was running Imperialis Fleet, and now the interesting thing about Imperial Agents in team formats is that they're actually extremely deleterious to the team. It's nice to have access to this extra faction, but the downside is it removes access to Imperial Agents, characters, and retinue units for everyone else in the team. Only one person can include Imperial Agents to begin with. And if you do that, you can no longer do things like take Calidus Assassins in other factions, or a Calidus Assassin in other lists. So you can't do things like compound the triple stacking Lords of Deceit auras if you're playing Ultramarines, for example. If you have Imperial Agents on your team, they steal that Calidus Assassin away. The benefit that you get, however, is that you get a greater access to Assassins and these utility scoring units than anyone else has because you get them all in one army. So Charlie was rocking Imperialis Fleet, so that's the sort of the Navis detachment for the faction, which I think is almost certainly the best one. I don't think it's really a controversial thing to say. And largely was kind of focusing on playing this scoring and denial game. He's running a Calexis Assassin. I believe he had 2 Assassins. Yeah, he had a Vindicare in here as well. Both of those could flip into their mirror. So the Vindicare flips into the Aversor, if I remember correctly, or one of the cheaper ones, and the Calexis can flip into the Calidus Assassin, if you ever need to. And oftentimes we saw him switch out the Vindicare for a Calidus or an Eversor in particular matchups. That's sort of the army ability that you have for playing Agents of the Imperium, is that you get access to that ability to specialize your assassin picks, which is very cool. We also had a Watchmaster with clandestine operation, so he is able to select 3 infantry units and gain infiltrators. That's at the start of the declare for battle formation step, so it doesn't actually require him to do anything. He can be in a transport and just activate this because it's a passive ability, and it happens before he embarks in a transport anyway, so it doesn't even matter. So that allows you to infiltrate a lot of these breacher teams, for example. They can push super far forward. If you have the Rogue Trader Entourage, which we do, we can also redeploy D3 of those and potentially drop them back into Deep Strike. The Rogue Trader is rocking is rocking Fleet Master, which gives you a free strat. It's either Violent Acquisition, which is sustained hits 1, lance, ignore, cover in shooting or fight phase. Masters of the Void, which is you can place PSCP basically, or in this case do it for free. Put that unit in your opponent's deployment zone off of strategic reserve rather than having to jump out of the deployment zone on battle round 2. And last, close quarters barrage is +1 strength and AP, attacking a unit within 12 inches. And then she also comes with the redeployment as well. So we have the ability to deploy a bunch of these breacher teams and subductor squads in the center of the table. We can also then redeploy them around as well. These subductors are kind of sticky to deal with. They got an okay armor save and they fight on death as well. So they're like sort of annoying to kill, because a lot of times if you send light, like anti-infantry stuff, melee stuff into them, they'll just kill it back. And they'll just sort of gain some passive damage from that. We have a unit of 5 poison at arms for backline screener as well. And then last but certainly not least, Canis Rex. So this is an expensive inclusion in a team's format, because you are eating not only your allies from Imperial Agents, but you're also eating your Knight allies. But Canis Rex adds an anchor to the army that you don't really get anywhere else in the faction itself. However, we also have a second inclusion of a Deathwatch kill team. So the Watchmaster can jump into the Deathwatch kill team. His enhancement doesn't require him to do anything, so he can sit in that kill team forever if he needs to. And we saw him hold off until very late in the game in some instances. They're rocking 2 frag cannons, 2 Infernus Heavy Bolters, 4 Deathwatch Thunderhammers, so they're a good sort of mostly anti-heavy infantry, I think. They have a lot of like 2 and 3 damage attacks, but they're just a good melee counterpunch as well, especially once you start adding things like Lance on top of their attacks. And we also have a Rhino in order to transport them around too. So we have Canis Rex with his Deathwatch kill team, 2 pretty scary melee threats that can kind of come in and counterpunch. You're also dropping 30 infantry in the front of your opponent's army, like sort of usually tucked away in different terrain features and stuff. Imperial Navy Breachers are excellent at just skirmishing with other light infantry because they get wood rerolls and they have a bunch of kind of mid-strength attacks. And then the Subductors are just great sort of cheap utility units. And all of that, in addition to some pretty spicy stratagems, things like Displacer Fields, which allows you to, if you attack a character unit, allows the character unit after the attack is resolved. It gets you a 4+ invulnerable save and then displaces the unit 6 inches as a normal move. So you can use that on, for example, the Watchmaster. So the Watchmaster can come out, hit something. Your opponent shoots them, they get the invuln save, blank a bunch of the shooting, take it on the shitty guys without special weapons, who cares about it, move back, and then re-embark into the transport. So that's cool. They can also do it with the Rogue Trader Entourage, and we saw use of this stratagem over the course of the game, or the event, where they were just able to get characters, thanks to this Displacer Field, in weird positions. There are almost always Rogue Traders and Watchmasters basically on your opponent's side of the battlefield. We had a Watchmaster like beating down Imperial Guardsmen on their home objective, I think, at one point, which is incredible. TJ's Cafe and Games, that's my TJ's too. What? That's crazy. I streamed an event there a couple weeks ago. Trusting someone enough to let them run ages is the true story here. Yeah, yeah. But this list is, first of all, it's an unknown quantity, which is huge. Patrick Barron. Flexed biceps. Patrick Barron, congratulations on the 4-1. I will. I think that is more of a showcase of your superlative skill at Warhammer 40,000 than it is of the strength of a simulation swarm. I will die on the hill. Those simulations, fucking horrible garbage. But congratulations to the 4-1, man. That's actually a sick result for that detachment. That's cool. Yeah, occasionally I go down there for RTTs. Although, to be honest, like this year has been tough for me for RTTs just because of travel. But I think I'm actually moving out of the area in a month or two, and I think I might, in the interim between now and then, just hit some RTTs so I can like revisit all my old haunts before I jump away and won't be able to come up quite as often. Swarm. So, yeah, conclusive proof that I'm bad. Yeah, it's definitely me. Certainly not this terrible detachment. Oh man, I don't know if it's up on the replay channel chat, but I had a game against Drukari with that detachment, and it was just the most miserable experience of my fucking life. It's just like, okay, so I walk into 12 Dark Lances every turn. Cool. What do I do against this? Oh, nothing. I have no recourse, and they can one-shot an entire unit. Okay, I love this. It's great. I'm glad this detachment is giving me the tools I need to succeed. So yeah, the other thing about Imperial Agents is that it's a bit of an unknown quantity. Not a lot of people have a lot of reps against Imperial Agents, and it's kind of a I think it's a sleeper, especially in these formats where the score is the thing that matters. So it's like an excellent defender list, because oftentimes I think what ended up happening, and then this may not occur anymore because of the discourse around this result, but what did end up happening is a lot of people, I think, took the bait on Imperial Agents and put strong lists into it, thinking that they would be able to destroy it and then get a 20-0 for the team. And that ended up did not happen. I think that Charlie's worst game was like a 14-6 for his opponent. That was his game against Steve Trimble that we watched on stream, and that was probably a particularly bad matchup. It turns out World Eater Terminators, if there's one thing they're really good at doing, it's just killing fucking infinite numbers of like 4-up save infantry. They will kill all of those, Ben. Let me see if I can pull up the event here. Chat. Oh, actually, it should still be in the bot. Ready? Event. I don't think that setting has changed, so I bet we're here. Look at that, chat! We figured it out. We've used our technology. This is surely wrong. Excuse me. Where did their listing go? Is there drama here, chat? What am I missing? Did they rename themselves? Oh, they did! Chat, they renamed their team! Since I put the stats together last night, they renamed themselves to Threat Level Midnight. What? Chicanery, chat. This is perennially Mayhew's annual D's Nuts Awareness Pro Fun Run Race for the Cure. What the fuck is that? All right, Morgan. What are you hiding there? That's so fascinating. Players' placings are being hidden. Oh, they're there. So he was 3-2. Yeah. did lose round one, 20-odd Thousand Suns. I think round 3 was his loss to Steve Trimble that we watched on stream, and then he 16-3 and 13-7, which we both watched as well. I can't believe they renamed their team. Literally overnight. That's so funny. All right. Well, fair enough. So it's a bit of a skew list. It is a list that's good at defending because it's very good at scoring just as sort of a standard number of points. And I think it's a bit of a sleeper because nobody's really prepared for it. Now, some of the other stuff that we saw being taken pretty often was, so we had some other pretty strong defenders. Adeptus Mechanicus in here was pretty good. Chase Jones, Qatari Hunter cohort. Chase looks like an absolute monster at this list. I'm kind of terrified, to be honest, because all of his games were in, like, sort of generally speaking, if his opponent sort of let him do it, they were huge blowouts in his favor. He was able to push super duper far forward with tons of things like his Qatari Rangers, his Rust Stalkers, and his Traxi Sky Stalkers. They pushed way up the middle of the table. They would literally ring the opponent's army, and they would just start to accrue enormous numbers of points. They used the defensive stratagems that Qatari Hunter cohort has on their stuff in the back. They would take matches, especially matches that weren't necessarily particularly aggressive, and they would just lock them into their deployment zone and keep them there. Well, now we did see them struggle a little bit on the matchups where people had a lot of aggressive units that could push really hard into the Hunter cohort lines and start to kill this stuff and potentially knock out the Scorpius Disintegrators as the rounds went on. But if you weren't able to do that, so we saw him play a lot of games against Tau, for example. Tau were like sort of sitting in their deployment zone. They would kill a couple of models, get contested every turn, and then prevented from moving forward. And the resulting scores were insane. So this is a very good kind of a passive scoring list. We had 3 Skitari Marshals, Sidonian Scatros as a lone operative, a single Techno Archaeologist to protect the home objective, double Rangers, triple Vanguard, 1 Dune Rider, which I think was sort of a combination between buffing up the Sicarian Sicarian Rustalkers, with the disembark threat range, as well as embarking the Battlespear uplink guy so he could jump in and out of the transport and get the bonus damage there. Yeah, triple Scorpius Disintegrator with the Ferromite cannons for sure. And then just a bunch of Traxi as well. So that one, I don't think it was definitely not quite as unique, but definitely another solid scoring army. We also had, this is Tucker Ricky. This was not Morgan TP though, so that looks like a mistake on. This is also the wrong list. That's problematic. But there was GCR code there as well. That was a Outlander Claw. But some of the more consistent stuff that we saw kind of across the table here, we end up. Here we go. Some of the more consistent stuff that we saw across the table here, I think the big takeaway for me was there were a lot of Astra Militarum, but not in this particular list. They didn't need it. They kept putting like Imperial Agents into it and then scoring it more wildly. But Aeldari was taken incredibly often. Now, I'm interested because it seems like Eldar are an answer for a particular defensive skew, but they come with an inherent risk. Because I think we've watched... I'm actually kind of curious about what the standings for Eldar were, because I think every time we had Eldar on stream, they lost. Let's see what Adam Raymond's was. Yeah, he had 2 10-10s and then lost 3 games in a row. And I have a sneaking suspicion that is kind of a consistent... we watched Dan Monsalve play, and I think he lost all his games on stream too. But I think that the point... Okay, he went 3-2, but it was only 11-9 wins, so they weren't even that big. But I think the point of Eldar is that they do have such a polarized matchup into a lot of potential matches, right? That you almost have to bring either Eldar or something like them the point here is that they can just savage defensive skews, right? So if you're rocking something that's like a big T12 defense brick, Eldar will ruin you. Absolutely destroy it. If you're running like Land Raider equivalent profiles and expecting that to see you through, Eldar are one of the few factions of the game that just literally doesn't give a shit about that. Obviously, things like World Eaters are the other answer to that, and so I think a lot of people are running World Eaters kind of in that slot. But you do run into some problems with things like Mass, Great Unclean Ones or something, which we saw John Sweet play and actually do extremely well with 4 Great Unclean Ones. But the Eldar have the silver bullet to that, which is not only all these fire prisms that can fire basically from out of line of sight, sort of, but you're also you have Fatalist Generation from the Guardian Defenders. You plus have a Foot Autarch is the new sort of the new inclusion there. Oh, this is an Autarch Weight Leaper actually. So this list actually took continues to take the Weight Leaper, but we are seeing the Foot Autarch taken more often as well for the free the free stratagem and just saving 40 points on that guy. Obviously, he's a little bit less offensively oriented because he's not as fast, and he doesn't hold your backline by himself, but he's still pretty good. And then the Avatar of Cain as well. So the Avatar of Cain can sort of push forward, be a defensive brick, and then if you're trying to put anything scary into him, he has his Overwatch, auto 60 Overwatch, gets D3 plus 1, strength 16, EP4, D6 plus 2 damage attacks, direct into you, probably kills something on the way in, and then charges with either you charge him or he charges himself, and does the same thing in melee as well. So he kills like endless numbers of high toughness vehicles. And then we also have a bunch of Bright Lances sitting in the back here, 2 Warwalkers, and then 10 Wraithguard as well. The downside is that we noticed that we watched this list just fall flat on its face against high model count armies. High volume, and this list absolutely died. In addition, anything that was remotely aggressive whatsoever, anything that could push forward and overwhelm the capacity of basically these like 2.5 units, right? We have the Wraithguard, we have the Fire Prisms, and we have the Avatar of Cain. Those are all really dangerous individually, but there's only 3 of them. If you can overload their capacity to deal with you, you very quickly kill everything besides like maybe one of those bricks, and Eldar just fall in your face in terms of scoring. So this the Eldar being so ubiquitously included was very interesting to me, because I think it speaks to the fact that the teams are worried about these big defense skews, worried enough that they're going to include what is otherwise potentially a liability in the pairing process, which is kind of what we saw happen. Who would have thought that we would have been talking about Eldar like a year ago, that we would have been talking about Eldar being a potential liability in a team's event? It's always endlessly funny to me. Teams should bring 3 obelisks. Absolutely. Absolutely, I 100% agree. I was talking with some of the players at the end there and about Hypercrypt Legion. I was like, how come nobody's bringing obelisks? And they were like, you know. Yeah. Are we doing it, Dan? Are we taking some obelisks? Yeah. Yeah, more obelisks, more better. We did actually. I was talking about you yesterday, Dan. We were watching another Triarch Stalker, a pre-buff Triarch Stalker on the table, and we're like, man, this little guy, look at him go! What a cool bean. He was in there to buff a Immortal unit with Luminar Serra, so it could be Ignore Cover AP1 plus Luminar plus the Plasmaster's Favorite Criticals, all the rerolls from being an Immortal, and yeah, and then obviously the Ignore Cover from the Triarch Stalker, and it was pretty good. Although it never comboed off. The Immortals did one tap an entire unit of 10 Chosen in one go, just killed the entire thing. I was like, okay, fair enough. You made the mistake of touching an objective, you're dead. See ya. Get out of here. Yeah. It was very impressive. It was very impressive for sure. 125 point Triumph Stalkers are bonkers at the heat rate. Yeah, they're super duper good. Can confirm. That was a unit that also got kind of pashad. But I guess they released, they were like 150, 160 points. They were very expensive. I don't know if there are people that into a really mediocre battle tank, but if they're in the sort of you support, there's like a 110 to 150 point value where you're like a support unit. And right in that sweet spot feels like where they're supposed to be. What kind of role should Imperial Knights play during a team tournament scene for fun? So Imperial Knights are good, kind of as like they're basically the thing that Eldar are here to hunt, because they can present a problem that a lot of the the weedier armies can't necessarily deal with. So you have armies that are like Tyranids, for example, that are good at scoring but can't necessarily punch through Imperial Knights, and having that as an option in the pairing process to try to warp the pairings around it is pretty impactful. So it's good to have one of those defense skews. It also forces the other team to try to contort themselves to get their Eldar matchup into you. Now, obviously, you have to avoid that because you don't want to get 20-0'd, but it is still a consideration on both sides, and that just comes down to sort of how good your captain is at navigating the pairing process. All right, let's move on. I think so. There's some other sort of standard inclusions. Quinton Johnson was running Adeptus Mechanicus. We'll take a look at that. We talked about the Adeptus Mechanicus. The G-Star cults were in there too. They were incredible results from the G-Star cults, by the way. They did great. Although they did go down to the Nurgle Greater Demons, which is very, very cool. I do want to talk momentarily about Morgan's Death Guard. Now, another evolution that we're sort of seeing here is we have some roving armies that are kind of they sort of move around. But on the flip side, what we noticed was that players tended to focus on layouts almost over matchups, and Morgan was an example of that. Morgan played every single game on the same layout, at least that we watched on stream, which was 3 games in a row played on the same layout. We also saw their Tyranid player. You messed this up. I think the list roster is actually messed up here. I think I might just take this off of. What are they? Threat level midnight now? God damn it. Off of BCP, because that one's the DGI is fucked up, unfortunately. Chris Adams played on the same layout every time as well. I think he favored layout 1, if I remember correctly, and Morgan was on layout 7 basically every game. And so these are like some bulwark factions that I think, or bulwark armies that I think during the pairing process are kind of like guaranteed to get some level of points based on the layout that they're able to achieve. None of these the games were like huge blowouts. A couple of the Tyranid games were. Unfortunately, it is Tyranid, so that's just how things go. They basically gave themselves the opportunity to lock in those layouts as early as they could. Now, Morgan's army was running a sort of I would say a relatively slow and purposeful build, pun intended, running Mortarion, Typhus, a Terminator Sorcerer. We've actually talked about these guys on the channel before. This Digi rules. These guys are super good. They have they're -1 damage in melee, so they can stack a bunch of defensive buffs in the Death Star Terminators, make them super tough to deal with. Plus, they also get their once per game damage spikes. So they can either shoot you good or they can punch you good. It's all very good, and they're very cheap. The new Death Guard paradigm, it seems like, is extremely cheap, extremely like utilitarian characters. I talked in my video this morning about the Death Guard, the Chaos Lord. That guy's amazing. He like grenades you every turn. It's insane. Obviously, he has to survive, but he's only 65 points. You can just run those guys and run a bunch of little Chaos Lords around and probably do some work. That might be a memes and themes list that we try at some point. But we are looking at 18 Death Star Terminators, and what Morgan was doing was using the terrain layout to stage those up the center of the table, push into the middle, and basically just wall the middle of the table off. Get 3 objectives out of the 5, and score himself a good baseline of points. Even if his opponent's also scoring points, he's going to win slightly. That's fine. By the end of the game, he's going to have a slight edge. He's probably going to win 11-9, almost regardless of what your opponent is taking, just because of how consistent this army is. He also has a bunch of bullies to go up the middle of the table. He's got Mortarion, who can sort of he usually just rushed up the middle. Typhus, obviously, and the sorcerers also incredibly strong with the Destroy Terminator units, but we also have Rodigus in the back here. And he was using Rodigus mostly on the flanks to lock down one objective. He would put Rodigus in a position where the opponent could access the objective, but to do so, they would have to leave their own hidey hole. And then Rodigus would half OC them. They would probably not be able to get through his OC. He would retain control of the objective and bait the opponent into charging, which just moves you into throw range of the Destron Terminators. And then he's also a great late game to push the middle as well, because he's basically like Mortarion 2.0. He's not as fast, but he sure hits hard. So this was an interesting list because I think that in addition to kind of the standard attacker and defender paradigm that we've been seeing obviously in the team events forever, but there's also now this kind of like layout specialist, this group of layout specialists who can choose one board and absolutely dominate it, which gives you a good starting point from there to sort of like build your pairing matrix out. The other one we saw was Chris Adams on layout 1 basically every time. This one was using an invasion fleet, rocking a hive tower with adaptive biology, a neuro tyrant. Can we look at orcs? For sure, we can look at orcs. Absolutely, we can look at orcs. A gargoyle unit, a hormigón unit, 1 biobur for scoring, 2 exocrines. I believe there's 2 Tyrannosaurus as well. There's also 2 Maleceptors, so just sort of brick of Tyranid monsters. Double Lictor, 1 Neurolictor, double Pyrovores, just for some utility and cover stripping, and then 2 units of Gene Stealers to prevent enemies from getting too far into you. I think that it seemed like in the games that we watched, Chase had a little bit of trouble against some of the more aggressive matchups that were capable of killing him. Let's just take a look at what his final score was. Nope, that's the wrong one. I had the wrong player. Excuse me, Chris. I said Chase. I meant Chris. Yeah, unfortunately, he had a 14-6 and a 10-10, but all those other games are kind of blowouts. Unfortunately, that is sometimes somebody's got to do it in Team Event Chat. You got to eat the bad matchup and hope you can draw back enough points. Tyranids, how far the mighty have fallen in that front, because I think they're still probably pretty good at scoring. There's definitely some matchups that they can sort of outscore, but it seems like especially the inability for Spore Mines to do actions has hamstrung their scoring potential just enough that they're giving up like 1 or 2 additional differential points at the end of each round, and that's really kind of limiting their effectiveness in this event. We did see a lot of Tyranids see play though over the totality of the event. I think a lot of armies had the faction. Kirk Rottinger from Rotinger, I hope that I'm saying that right, Jesus. From Almost Functional had a very spicy Tyranid list. Do you have any other Tyranids? Kate Morrison from DDR Benchwarmers was rocking Tyranids. Yeah, Dice Boys had a Tyranid, which I think ended up getting 2nd place as well. So players still on Tyranids as for that sort of like solid defender list, but it's definitely not quite as good as it was previously. Pyrovores are technically discounted now if you take more than 1 in a unit. That's pretty good. Hell yeah. All right. Get back to our threat level over here. Yeah, so talking about Tau as well, Tau on map 5. I think we watched that a couple times. I can't remember what we watched on stream. I believe that we watched that against Chase's Mechanicus, and Chase absolutely, he was another kind of sort of like layout specialist because he dominated that layout. Am I remembering that correctly? Was that layout 5 that he was on? He might have been on 4 actually. I think he was on 4, but I think people put Tau into him, and he just like 20 of them every time. They just did not have the capacity to deal. Tau was interesting because I think that this might be controversial. If we look at, let's look at Team Degen. So Keenan Hicks was rocking Tau. And this was a game where we watched it against Chase's Adeptus Mechanicus. And it's kind of a normal tile list. It's a Mont Ka list. It's got Dark Strider. It's got an Ethereal for CP generation. It's got the Broadside Battlesuit, Ghostkill Battlesuit, a couple Hammerhead gunships, a couple Piranhas, a couple Riptide Battlesuits, a couple Skyray gunships, some Stealth Battlesuits. It's sort of a pretty classic sort of Tau armor build, right? We're taking lots and lots of long back-range shooting. We're taking a couple of the big punchy battlesuits to sit on the front. They can shoot. They can fall back. They can do stuff. It's all good. It's all good. But maybe this is a hot take, chat, but given Jack Harpster's final result, I think this is a misuse of the faction in the format, because this list is like it's so shooting oriented, right? It's so focused on winning a ranged engagement that it opens you up to a weakness in the pairing process against enemies who can prey on those shooting armies. And I think that ended up losing a couple rounds for the opponents of now threat level Midnight. But if we look at Jack Carpenter's list, Jack was playing a much more aggressive retaliation Conjure list, and this name is amazing. And was so much more successful than those other lists. And we even watched two Tau players in one round go into two separate Thousand Suns players and both lose the exact same way. And they were both playing, I think, kind of standard Mont Ka versions like the one that Keenan was running that we just looked at. Jack was not doing that. He played against Mike Piazetti's Thousand Suns and he 20-0'd them. So I think that playing this much more aggressive focus and being more of that Eldar, that sort of Eldar style, where you are just a killer rather than being this kind of defensive bulwark, it seems like has served the team much better than the more classic varieties of Tau. So Jack was running double Cold Star Commander Battlesuits. He had a Starfire Radiation system on a Cold Star, which is actually really interesting, because they're already relatively fast, so usually you see those on the slower battlesuits. Plus triple Enforcer battlesuits as well. Are we asking to give up Bring It Down Assassination here? It's just like, I'd win. We have a unit of Fire Knife battlesuits. I guess each of these only gives it 2 points for Bring It Down. It's not actually that big of a deal. That's 12 if you kill all the characters. So you could get it if you killed, like, literally everything. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just assuming that it's going to be you on primary before you actually kill all of its stuff. We also had a Fire Knife battlesuit team. That one was rocking missile pods. We had a Star Scythe battlesuit team. That one was rocking burst cannons, so we can get the sustained hits. Another one. So we had a good range of different offensive profiles. You have a good sort of medium infantry clear with the 2 damage missile pods. We have a ton of anti-light infantry for the burst cannons. And then we are also rocking 3 Sudden Forge teams as well, that are fusion blasters, to kill higher toughness stuff. So the list is not only fast, it has up downies, it's flexible, it has 3 HD strikes, but it also has a broad swath of offensive profiles, good in literally every situation. So you can put it into whatever sort of defense skew your opponent wants to give you, and in any of those instances, it has the capacity to kill whatever it's shooting. We also had 2 Ghost Scale battlesuits as well to add a front line, a crew Chronophore squad to hold down the back line, plus a Pathfinder team for forward operation and to guide, plus 3 stealth battlesuit teams. Because it's Tau, you gotta have 3 stealth battlesuit teams. For Orks, running Endless Boys into Wraithguard actually trades up as long as you don't lose more than 3 boys. And the Beast Boss unit solos the Avatar. Does it solo the Avatar? The Beast Boss definitely kicks the shit out of the Avatar, but does he kill him in one swing? We did watch the Avatar tank like 58 attacks or something like that in one of the last games, which is super duper fun. But yeah, I think that this Tau Empire Retaliation Cadre is sort of like aggressive, like go get 'em build is so much more interesting in a team format. So we saw Tau kind of taken across the board. But Threat Level Midnight played them in a different capacity. Threat Level Midnight also sort of traded a lot of their kind of baseline attacks, their baseline styles of attack into, or excuse me, their baseline sort of defender options into these Imperial agents. That was also effective. And then they had a couple of factions like Tyranids, like Adeptus Mechanicus, like Death Guard that could always get a pretty solid score out of whatever they were given. And it seems like Tucker, Quentin, and Jack were all sort of like kind of traveling field agents that would go just kill their opponent for big 20-0s. And that certainly was the strategy that they used, and that definitely won. Let's take a look at the final placings here. We didn't actually talk about them, I think, at the event because we didn't have the final placement at the time that the round 3 ended. But it did. Dice Boys did end up taking second. I talked about to Andy Powell from Brush and Boulder at the end of the event. He said that they were super close. I think the tiebreaker was 1 game win away from getting second place for them as well. So let's take a quick peek at what they were rocking. We unfortunately did not get Dice Boys on the stream, which does make me a little bit sad. They had some Chaos Knights, Astra Militarum. A lot of factions said Astra Militarum, or Army said Astra Militarum too. I think they were good in some of these, again, some of these more like stand-up matchups where Militarum could just kill them and then use them as to kind of like for their score as well. But what we want to do is talk about Orks. Dan, you're 1 match loss away. Oh, what a killer! It's I guess it's nice that the win loss does matter to some extent, right? So because some people are like, well, it doesn't matter. As long as it's 11-9 or 10-10, it doesn't really matter. But it does actually matter when you come down to it, if you're both at the same record. And it's tough, like, at the time to sort of make that consideration or make that determination. All right, let's talk about Orks. Colby over here rocking some Orky boys. Running Gaskell, Thraka, 2 war bosses. One of them's cunning but brutal, so he can fall back and charge. A bunch of Beast Snagga boys, triple Beast Snagga boys. I believe that we did watch, we watched Colby on stream, actually. We did watch Colby on stream against Chris's Tyranids. And if I remember correctly, this was a ridiculous blowout in favor of Orks. The Tyranids, they assembled their screen, the kill rigs killed the screen, and then it looks like they just waited a turn and then wowed the next turn. And Gaskell got into the Tyranid deployment zone. Seems bad, man. I don't know. Yeah, so it's 3 kill rigs to carry around the 3 units of Beast Snagga boys. Plus Mega Knobs for Gaskell to rock into, 2 units of 10 knobs. So we have 2 big, huge knob squads that the war bosses can jump into. Are we trucking those guys? We are trucking those guys. We have 3 trucks. Looks like one of them is just carrying a regular boy squad. 2 of them are carrying the big knob squads. So 5 total big, huge transports that are carrying just enormous numbers of orcs. The kill rigs, if they can stage it somewhere in the center of the table, are actually, they're so good at force multiplying that they can kind of support the fight throughout the entire game as long as they aren't destroyed. If you're trying to deal with the orcs in front of them, the kill rigs can late game anchor pretty well, but they can also buff the orcs on the turn that they go in. Plus, they offer you some pretty good shooting on top of that, especially if your opponent has like really light units and you're able to whittle them down. Like randomly overwatching with an auto-hitting las cannon is like pretty sick. Big thing is the Beast Boss unit destroys the Avatar Overwatch as well. Yeah, most of the like infantry units are definitely like it's fine if you wanna burn a CP and a fate dice on overwatching into little infantry skies. It's when you have to open up the Avatar with like a Land Raider or something. Oh, excuse me. Nice job. That the Avatar gets super duper dangerous. Obviously, it's not good in every situation. I definitely don't think you should always be overwatching your Avatar. Do not go buy a bracelet that says ABOYA OC. Always be overwatching your Avatar game. But in the instances where you can get a hard target with it, it's crazy, crazy strong. But definitely no good against the little stuff. He will eventually kill Orc boys, but it takes a while. His sweep attack's okay, but it's not amazing. Yeah, but this list is... I'm actually surprised we aren't seeing more lists like this, because I think that the kill rigs... I don't know. I feel like a broken record, but I think that the kill rigs add so much to Orcs that they don't have otherwise. Like, you get a gun, you get a relatively defensive unit that doesn't just fall over as soon as it's looked at, and you get another good transport, and you get a strength buff. Like, they do everything. And they're definitely, I understand, they're more expensive than a truck. The truck's only 65 points. But holy shit. Do you not get a giant squig attached to the front of that truck? Yeah, the devastating wound is definitely good. Although the downside is that he's only 2 damage, so he gets cut to 1 by when he hits the avatar, which is a little bit sad. Kill rate for 155, Land Raider Redeemer is 285. I think the Land Raider Redeemer... Does the Land Raider Redeemer, like, unironically still sees play at 285, though? I think 285 is the right number. The difference is that the Land Raider is significantly, like an order of magnitude more difficult to kill than a kill rig. They have the same number of wounds, but the kill rig has a feel no pain, except the Land Raider has more toughness and, like it has 1 pip higher of save, but then also AOC and smoke. So it's actually like 2 pips higher in save. And it overwatches like way better, and it's a better transport. Like the Land Raider Redeemer is strictly superior outside of the strength buff that it grants out. Yeah. The Stormbolter Land Raider. I played one for my Land Raider video. I actually didn't hate it, but not hating it in the context of forcing yourself to play literally only Land Raiders is a little different. All right, chat. I do have to pop off in about 5 minutes here because I have to skedaddle out of the room. So unfortunately, I wish I could make this a longer stream. But it is just unfortunately not in the cards. But I will be live tonight over on Twitch. I'm gonna be rocking the Demon gun line, the bird flu list, up against Adeptus Custodes. So I hope that's a fun game for y'all. Please come follow me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/TacticalTortoise if you're not over there already. That bird flu list was surprising to me. In my first game with it, and I think it might be good. I don't want to prognosticate too hard, but I think that list might have legs. In fact, it has a lot of them. They're big. They're very big and thick. I think I'm gonna also try tomorrow morning to do a Tactical Tuesday. Here's what I would like to do for my stream schedule or my content schedule in the future. I like that this timing for the Monday show. Ally in Vashtor, you cannot do that, in fact. Demons only ally into CSM, not the other way around. What was I about to say? It was really important. Oh, so I think that I like this early morning timing for the Monday show, and I think I would like to turn Tactical Tuesday into that sort of time frame, but I think I want to do with Tactical Tuesday. I liked the discussions that we've had previously on specific units and archetypes, and I think I want to continue that. So, like we talked last week about Aquilons. We talked the week before about sort of improved units in the points update, and I think that's kind of where I want to push that content to be. So I think that's what we're going to try to do on Tuesday. I don't know what tomorrow. That's tomorrow. I don't know what the subject is going to be quite yet, but I'm sure it'll be fun. So come hang out with me tomorrow for that stream. I will be from some other hotel room on my shitty microphone, so I apologize for that. And then on Wednesday, go hang out with me over on Angry Joe. I'm currently heading over to Angry Joe's studio right now. And I'm going to be there on Wednesday. We're going to play some 40k. It's going to be sweet. We're going to hang out at twitch.tv/Angry Joe Show. You're going to get another PowerPoint? Probably not a PowerPoint. Not this week. Maybe next week for the PowerPoints. But we'll have a discussion on something that's been doing well, I think. And yeah. Otherwise, I'll see y'all later, everybody. Thanks for chilling with me. We're keep it classy, folks. Have happy wargaming. I'm gonna go ahead and pop off. Have a good one.